Hello and welcome to the podcast where we explore the world of audio storytelling with people responsible for creating enchanting experiences. I'm Oscar, he, him, and I'm on a podquest to learn everything you wanted to know about audio drama and actual plays that you never dared to ask. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Lou. Lou, please introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
So I'm Lou SUTCLIFFE, they, them. Those are my business pronouns. I also use neopronouns am, and he, him is also acceptable if you are the man in the street who has just seen me. I'm very much a filthy casual when it comes to audio drama. This is absolutely my hobby. My day job is in data management.
Okay.
I make, along with a nice person from Rhode Island in the US, a podcast called Eeler's Choice, which is a fantasy audio drama about a world where the economy is based on the hunting of giant eels with singing bones.
That makes me laugh because where I grew up was March in Cambridgeshire, which is called the Isle of Ely, where literally
the promised land.
Yes, the promised land. Yeah. There's a great quote from J.J. Cale which talks about there's only one good thing about a small town: you hate it and you know you have to leave. But that's my personal taste on that one. Anyway.
One day we will go for the Eel Festival. Daisy wants it. Whenever we mention Ely, Daisy says, the promised land. And one day we will go for the Eel Festival one.
Definitely. It's a lovely town. I've got lots of friends who still live there. Anyway, so we're going to talk about your entry into the world of audio drama. And I find it really fascinating to try and work out, because I'm talking to all sorts of people at different levels. And now, because you perform, you write, are you producing as well?
No, Daisy. I hate producing. Daisy does the producing. Daisy does all the things that I don't like. So Daisy does producing, organising people, and dialogue editing. I do all the things that Daisy doesn't like. So that's writing, composing, sound editing. And we split the directing between us when there's directing.
Yeah. So as you say, you work in sort of data as your day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
You're entering this world, this crazy world of trying to tell stories. What made you want to do that?
Okay, so I'm one of these many Johnny-come-latelys who, during the acute phase of the pandemic, wasn't able to do their normal creative output.
Yeah.
So my other hobby is LARPing. And I've been LARPing, like so many TTRPG and creatives, and especially within the UK creative community. I was a LARPer. I was a LARPer since sort of 2012 after I finished my PhD. When
I'm not saying a word. So I used to go down to Labyrinth back in the day, which is the Chislehurst Caves back in the 90s.
Yeah,
I'm talking about early 90s.
I've never actually been to Chislehurst Caves, but I know a lot of people have. But...
In fact, it used to be a thing called Treasure Trap, and Alan, who was one of the people who founded Treasure Trap.
the Durham Treasure Trap.
Yeah. So I didn't keep it up, but a lot of my friends are very deep into their LARPing. In fact, one of our casts for my actual play he's refound in his middle age, kind of like entry into going back to LARPing. Anyway, So I'm a massive fan of LARPing, massive fan of tabletop, and so you've taken this kind of like passion, needing to find some way of doing it. Now, did you go into the actual play space, or did you start writing and performing?
No. So when we've been stuck indoors and all LARP is off during the acute phase of the pandemic, so 2020, 2021, we can't. So I've got kind of no creative outlet. So years before then, I'd written fan fiction, and then when I started LARPing, I'd started writing. I'd written games, I'd written events, I'd written plot for events, that kind of thing.
I have to ask, CP or LT?
Neither of those. No. Initially, Fools and Heroes.
Fools and Heroes, I remember.
And then when that got to, because I was presenting female at this time, and then when that got to violently sexist as well, for me
that's annoying.
Oh yes, unfortunately, the big problem with some of those older games that they still have big problems with sexism and to some extent racism.
I thought that got better from some of my friends.
It's great. They get dragged kicking and screaming into 10 years before where they were now, but they're still better than a lot of places.
another podcast, another time, we should talk more about that because I'd love to. But
Yeah.
so you're going into the sort of fan fiction, leveraging
So
that.
yeah, so I go back into fan fiction, but then I start. I'm like, I'm on Tumblr. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, so what are the youth listening to? What are they doing now? Well, they're all into this Magnus Archives.
Yeah.
I've heard of this Magnus Archives. I'm sure I know people who are in this Magnus Archives. So people have been planning for years to like listen to this Magnus Archives thing. It's super gay. Like you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So eventually I get around. I'm like, I'm still working because you can still do data management from home. But
Yes.
I've just got a lot. I'm now in a position where nobody yells at me for having my headphones on, so I can now listen to hours upon hours upon hours of audio drama. So I'm listening to hours upon hours upon hours of audio drama. I'm listening to all of I'm listening to all of Magnus Archives. I'm listening to all of Rusty Quill Gaming, which is the Out You Play from them, that group as well.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to the Silt Verses. I'm listening, and I realize there's a whole world of audio drama at this point that I've not, because I've listened to Night Vale before this point.
Oh, I love Night Vale.
Yeah, it's great.
So I'm lucky enough that my son introduced it to me years ago, and we managed to go and see 2 of the live performances in London. Mwah.
Well, that's awesome.
Brilliant.
I'm sure they'll be back round to get the UK.
Yeah.
I think the last time they were in Manchester, so it was a bit of a trek for me, unfortunately.
And for those who don't know, there's also recently been a Kickstarter for a TTRPG of Night Vale, which they've just delivered the digital version of, I'm glad to say. And yes, I did back it. Sorry, Lou, I'm interrupting you because
you've reminded me of something which I'll bring up later.
Yeah.
And so so I listen to a lot of Rusty Quill stuff then, and I listen to all sorts of other stuff as well, and stuff on their network and anything else I can find, and the Fool and
hoping to interview
stuff
them as well
kind
at some point soon. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There are people who I can connect you with if you don't just email
Callum
them
is
through.
Somebody I know.
You already know Callum, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of listening to, and then because I'm like autistic completionist, I'm also listening to all the making of stuff and the Q&As, and I'm like, oh, okay, actually this is a lot more accessible than I thought it was. So I try writing a few scripts and sending them in. I try auditioning for things, but because I don't know what I'm doing, nobody casts me and nobody accepts my script. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen. People are not going to pick me. But there's nothing to stop me just doing my own stuff. Like, this is extremely accessible media. Like, so I'm like, okay, right. I write myself a 12-part audio drama that I voice entirely myself. Except, like so many people, I get tired of doing it myself after a while. So, and that's called the Pantaloon Society, and it's about and this is after I've been hanging out in kind of fandom spaces for the Magnus Archives as well, and kicking around ideas and that kind of thing. And I wrote the Pantaloon Society, which can still be found. It's a 12-part audio drama about superhero clowns who protect theatrical spaces from supernatural evils.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's fun, and if you are scared of clowns, there is no exposure therapy like writing a 12-part audio drama entirely about them, going into deep dives on the history of clowning, like from the 16th century onwards and that kind of thing.
Wow.
I now have
wow.
so much random knowledge about clowning in theatrical spaces now that I didn't have before. So yeah, and sort of having made that, once you've made that, then people will accept you into spaces, creative spaces, and you can talk to them about creative things. And then, so like I got tired of doing all the voices. And there came a point where after I can switch back and forth between a lot of different voices, but there came a point where I had to do an whole episode which was just mostly back and forth between 2 people with roughly the same accent. So at that point, and the Pantaloon Society is all me except for 2 people called Mike. Because there were several points where I went, I'm just going to grab my friend so I don't have to do all this one. So 2 episodes of that are other friends of mine in them as well.
But it is true,
so
I think, though, this organisation...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No. I was just where you were going there. I thought it was interesting because I think you've highlighted something I think is really interesting about this space is that it might seem off-putting, but there's a lot of people like us wanting to try something out, wanting to experiment because the bar to get started is so low.
Yes.
But the bar to keep going is so high. And those people who do keep going I think, have an empathy. And often are people, I mean, not in my case, obviously, I'm the classic cis white guy, but we're often very open-minded people because you wouldn't be trying something weird, I think. Not weird. The audio drama has been around forever, so it's not weird, but the kind of process of doing that creative act, the process of engaging with people is a primal force for a lot of people. And those people often have a lot in common. And I'm very lucky that a friend of mine, Kareem, is by the indie kind of indie podcast godfather, for want of a better phrase.
Would that be Green Confley by any chance?
Oh, yes, of course it's Green Confley.
Lovely man, lovely man.
Lovely man, amazing guy. And I bring out far too much. I probably embarrass the poor guy, but he's such a lovely chap.
He deserves us embarrassing him.
Yeah, exactly. And he can handle it so well. But the point is that he has managed to find a way to connect a lot of like-minded people and is very much inviting more people to join that kind of process. And through him and other kind of connections that I've generated through that, I've managed to build already a relatively significant network of people in this space. But then I am that... I am the ADHD kind of extrovert at extreme networker, blah, blah, blah. Whilst you're here, don't forget to check out our actual play, The Anything Could Happen show, on YouTube and all good podcast sites, where I put my guest players through no-win scenarios with limited information and always against the clock. And of course, where anything could happen.
Anyone out there?
Donan, you seeing this?
Don't want to be. The fuck?
Oh, that was horrible.
What? No. What?
Did you
No,
see a classroom?
No. City burning.
Yes.
Classroom
yes.
would have been great.
Oh,
But no,
God.
but before that, no, I saw a classroom and a teacher with hollow eyes.
No,
No, I don't like this.
Could it
Hammer on
be
the
that
door
your
again.
colleagues are playing some sort of prank on the three of you?
Say another word like that and I'm going to fucking throttle you.
Networking is so much easier, I've found, in the indie audio drama space, because people are just so generous with themselves and their time. And
Absolutely.
I've tried to be the same, like to pay that forwards, like to help people as much as I can too. There's people like Kareem and Sarah Golding and people like that who are just so kind and generous. I think that it sets the tone for everybody else.
Yeah, I managed to sit down with Sarah at the podcast show. We just happened to bump into each other there, and it was interesting kind of talking to her because she's got these different hats of production as well as being a performer and script reviewing and things like that. So, but with that in mind, that's made me think. So, you're making a 12-part story
because I saw a lot of people who, as you say, they aim. They're like, I'm going to make another 200 episode, like that sort of thing, and they get 3 in and they realise what level of work it is, and that disheartens them. They don't carry on with it. So I'm like, I'm going to do a defined series that will last 12 episodes. Stop. I will make it. I will put it out there, and I'll see what happens. And if nobody listens to it, then at least I'll have done it, and I will have 12 episodes experience in sound design, 12 episodes experience in dialogue editing, 12 episodes experience in sticking it through, writing in, and I'll have 12 episodes of practiced voice acting and cleaning up my dialogue to submit auditions. And 12 episodes
so smart.
12 episodes of my work that I can just point to and say, I did this. Here's how I am capable of completing a project. So, like, that, to some extent, that 12-episode series is my CV.
No, completely get it. Completely get it. I think that's actually a really powerful way to look at it. And I think, but I mean, I could talk about the alternative approach, which I'm taking, where I try to build up a momentum and then I just try and see how far I can go with it. But I think it's actually more interesting to go back into some detail. Like, so you've made that decision, you're going to make 12 episodes. You've made the decision that you're going to be the only person. So you don't have that nightmare of trying to coordinate everybody.
I'm lucky in that I am capable of doing a lot of different voices and accents.
Yes.
And I have the autistic code switching thing. I'm used to being, and years of LARPing and years of playing different characters, years of different performances, that kind of thing. The only thing that kind of stops me from in-person acting, live acting, is autistic memory. I cannot memorize lines. So I'd always wanted to perform this way, but the only way I would ever be able to do it is through like the improv of LARPing. So I realized that actually this is quite fun. Now I can do this, and I complete this series, and I put it out there, and then I go into creative spaces, and I'm like, here, I've done this thing. People, do you want to do swaps for it? Do you want to collaborate on things? That kind of, and after this point, that is when I actually start getting cast in things. Because my audition tapes were a lot better now. Because I'd been editing my own voice for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I had practiced my craft and that kind of thing.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. So, was it? So, do you think it's a confidence thing, or is it a craft thing that made that difference?
Porque no los dos?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's kind of both. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but I think there is something about this framework. And now, is 12 the magic number?
I looked at everybody else's series.
Yeah.
And I took kind of an average.
Yeah.
I saw people who'd done 3 episodes, up to people who'd done 6 episodes, multiple episodes, 6 episodes. I saw people like 10, 12 is about, and also if I'd wanted to carry on and do future, I could do future seasons of the Pan Saloon Society if I wanted to. I mentally prepared myself for that in case I wanted to. Like, I know the full meta plot, but it can stop where it is, and it has stopped where it is because that's where I wanted to stop. So I'm like, okay, people do an average season of something is 3 to 14 episodes of something. Yeah. So I will do an average season of something, and that's where I'll stop for the time being.
And how long is an episode?
So the average time that a human being can concentrate before they have to take a break is 20 minutes.
I love that, and because obviously, so one of the problems I have is I like
all this
doing
with research.
yeah. No, but I like doing 50-minute podcasts for these kind of
50 minutes is very good for actual plays, I think, to be honest, because you usually do multiple hours of stuff.
I mean, for the interview type stuff, I tend to do 50. But my actual plays are like 20-minute dilemmas with 15-20 minutes of like either side, like the debrief afterwards. And I found that that gives me a 45-minute episode, and I feel like that's a good structure because the tone changes through that process, like you say, the focus. But I'm terrible because I love chatting about the making of with people. I am very aware that I end up having far too much information. I think there is a different kind of mindset, a more relaxing mindset that can last for longer. But it has to have some
I'm absolutely
dynamism.
fine with like so if we have talks, those tend to be about an hour. Which cuts down to however many minutes of actual dialogue, probably about 45, as you say. But if it's a narrative episode, I aim for 20 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes it can go longer. Sometimes it goes up to 30 minutes. I rarely go short. I tend to write an episode. I aim approximately 4,000 words an episode.
Okay. And so 4,000 words, I'm presuming that's going to be roughly kind of like a page a minute in principle.
Yeah, like on average, dialogue, depending on whether it's dialogue, whether it's narrative. If I aim for roughly 4,000 words, that's usually enough for me to create a defined episode story, which resolves within that episode. Yeah, and then gives you the hooks for the next one.
So, are you, when you're crafting that? So obviously, when you're starting out, you're going to have to. I mean, is there any exposition that you're building in, or are you allowing that to evolve through the dialogue? How are you kind of physically structuring your writing approach?
So it depends on what brief I'm writing to, because if I'm writing for somebody else, it's different.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I've written guest episodes for the Kingmaker Histories.
Yeah.
And the Kingmaker Histories has some narrative, but it's mostly dialogue. Like, the Kingmaker Histories has an occasional narrator coming in and going, here's the historical context for this thing. And then, and that is, but I've also written for things where it was just dialogue. And I've also written the things where it was just narrative. My favorite is the cinematic style,
right.
where you have occasional voiceovers of people where it's inside their heads, it's in their internal monologue. And then you skip to dialogue, and then the internal monologue is used to describe the scene when you need to describe the scene, and then the dialogue is used to push the plot along. And I will write in the found footage framing device, but I find it quite constraining. So if I was writing for somebody else who used the found footage framing device, I would use it. But I don't. I prefer to be able to fly around with perspective, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting, because I think perspective. So I think about perspective as a game maker very differently than I think about it from a writing point of view. And I'm imagining that you're still having some kind of narrative arc that you're trying to constrain in the specific episode. So having a setup, a confrontation, a kind of payoff kind of model, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, are you essentially using that kind of like wider arc where you're seeding for future episodes at the same time?
So Pantaloon Society, because I was only planning one season initially, had it was very monster. I deliberately wrote it very monster of the week. But like it's theatrical monster of the week. It's like one episode has like a leprechaun in a hospital where the person's clowning. Hospital clowning. One episode has a possessed mask that people are using in a mumming play that's twisting reality. So each of those episodes is monster of the week, until you get to the final 3 parts, which is but all the way through that I was seeding a murder mystery with each with a little and at various
very
points.
Watchmen.
Basically I was seeding him it is it is quite of an Alan Moore type narrative. I was seeding him
I'm a huge fan of
and
Alan
at one
Moore,
point in one of the episodes is the initial point that you meet the killer, but you never know which episodes it is. And I used to like asking people, at which episode did people guess who the killer was, because you had met them before. And I think one of my partners is the one who got it earliest. Some people get it at episode 12, some people get it I think my partner got it at episode 7 or something like that. I was like, oh no. But that partner is very they love spy thrillers and murder mysteries and that kind of thing, so they're used to spotting where things are.
There's so many crime thriller tropes where you will typically have met the killer first, even though they don't necessarily know it until much, much, much later. And you've had so much thrown in the way that you've forgotten they were the first one you saw.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like, I mean, there's a foreshadowing, there's a framing sort of mechanism that a lot of people are using in their episodes. Were you thinking about framing as you were building each of these episodes?
So for Pantaloon Society, there is an omnipotent narrator who is this very kind of frivolous, ringmastery. Hello, dear friends. I invite you to the Crypt Keeper / I'm telling you about this thing. Who makes like arch references and gives like historical context. I love digressing into historical context on things and like dropping out of the story to give like a long narrative about to tell
back
like
in
an
the
internal
1870s we encountered
this
this
basically
blah, blah,
back
blah,
in the 1870s or this is the history of this particular kind of pantomime or this particular, and I did that as well in a little 3-part thing I did which was an adaptation of a 17th century sci-fi story by Bishop Godwin of Hereford called The Man in the... It's where an adventurous Spaniard flies to the moon in a chariot drawn by geese.
This sounds familiar.
It's on my SUTCLIFFE here feed. That's where I keep all the little short historical projects that I like doing. yeah, The Man in the Moon is it's kind of one of the earliest pieces of sci-fi out there. Well, there's things like The Blazing World as well, and it's very very early sci-fi. So that's what I really like doing. I like dropping into historical context on things. So that's often my framing device is like, here's the narrator who's going to give you lots of context on things, and here's the action that's happening.
Yeah.
So with Eeler's Choice, because me and Daisy definitely planned out at least we planned out 3 seasons of 6 episodes each, but they're much more elaborate episodes. They're at like half an hour each. They have some of them have full songs at the end of them, like fully produced songs at the end. That was so
fantastic.
Like it's a big undertaking. So
that sounds like a lot of work. There's a lot of work in that.
Yeah, we've just crowdfunded for season 2, so there's about to be another lot of work again. Once we've done all the crowdfunder rewards, then we can actually crack on with the series. So that is 3 levels, because the whole season of the 18 episodes that will end up being is a full exploration of what exactly is going on in the world and the meta plot. Then each individual season is confronting a threat of some kind. Like a supernatural or a natural threat of some kind. Which the little town of Eskmouth is enduring at this time. So the first season was Ailed Bycatch, the spirit of Bycatch, the spirit of thrown away nets and destroyed and wasted fisheries and polluted seas, emerges from the depths to punish the town for kind of taking advantage and destroying the natural environment. And then there's a different thing for the season 2, and then there'll be a different threat for season 3. And then each individual episode of that, rather than being an individual monster of the week, is actually kind of progressing the plot. But that I like flipping back and forth. That's each season of that is a festival within the town. So it's one of the annual festivals. So the first season is the spring festival, the second season is the summer festival, and the third season will be the autumn festival. And it's over the space of 2 or 3 days over that period of time. And then you go you go back and forth between the perspectives of the main characters. So like in the first season, we went for like one to each of the 4 main characters one by one, and each of them saw each other at various points. And then the final 2 episodes are kind of like the monster emerges from the sea, and they all have to deal with it. And then I'll do a similar sort of thing for season 2, and then I'll do a similar sort of thing for season 3 as well. So that rather than each one of those being a monster of the week, each season is a monster of the festival.
Gotcha. And that's easier to do when you've got a fewer episodes in the season, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah. I probably wouldn't do it that way if I had 12 or something.
No.
Each
I kind of almost kind of half expect you to say you do 2 monsters in a season of 6, because there's something kind of nice about the kind of a trio of that, like I say, the setup, the confrontation, the payoff kind of model of things.
Yeah, but it won't always. It's not always.
Oh no, nothing ever quite fits. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If we try, I mean, I do this all the time. I'm often trying to find a way to make this really structured process. And I get all kind of like, yeah, let's do it that way. And then, of course, it never works like that. You've always got to end up with flexibility. So lots of intense work, lots of scripting, lots of time, and composing and sound design. So if you're going to produce a series, a 6-episode or a 12-episode series, how much kind of sunk time is there before? I mean, because it sounds like you're doing this stuff before you're releasing it. You're not doing the release on the go. Is that right?
No. I think our current plans are to do a season of Eeler's Choice every 2 years, basically. Every 2 years, with a break between for us to do other stuff. Yeah. To kind of recharge the tank, and I would really not manage being one of those, especially not with a day job, to be one of those people who releases a series, I think every week. Yeah. Like I would run out. I need to have defined projects with an endpoint.
Yeah.
And set times to do them in, because otherwise I will burn myself out very easily. And I like it's fun working, and I like working with the people as well. I like acting for other people. I like writing for other people.
Yeah.
I like being involved. I like doing different collaborative projects with different people. There's still something on the back burner that needs to that me and a friend of mine have been working on, which is basically Ottoman Empire SCP.
Okay.
And that's like a 6 or 7 episode pilot season at the moment, which is deep in kind of like I'm doing it with a Kurdish person and some Turks.
Okay, great.
So I've got like kind of the detailed kind of cultural background. And that
So
kind of
many things to mine in that. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, like there is. I love looking into, like there are so many Cthulhu podcasts.
Yes.
There are so many there are so many Western Fae podcasts. There is I've seen so much white people mythology. Whenever I can find any way to bring out, there was a series which had a name, and the name had something Arabic in it. I was like, great, finally something. It wasn't. No, it was more Cthulhu. I was like, oh, come on. So apparently I need to be the change I see in the world, and if that means me and like basically we've been plotting this stuff together, and then where my Kurdish friend writes it, I kind of Englishify the script. And sort of translate it into. And we have all sorts of fun working out whether we should use the Turkish name for something, or the English name for something, or the Greek name for something, or the.
There's a great game designer, narrative writer, Dan, but I can't remember. I'm terrible with surnames. I can't remember his surname off the top of my head. He did a fantastic series of talks where he talked about kind of different. You know how we talk about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey a lot, like you say, Western narrative.
Derogatorily, in my case, yes.
Well, yeah. I think it's got a place and it's got a value.
Yeah.
But he talked about African structures, and he talked about Japanese structures, and he talked about South American story structures, and they're all very different, and the payoffs and the kind of approaches are all kind of much more provoking in different emotional ways. And I think there's this layer of, we can tell different kinds of stories regardless of the contextual story we're telling, but we can also bring different perspectives to stories, and that mix between those two different layers, I think, is where really interesting art can come. And I'm very aware that I am how I present, and so getting more people around me that aren't like me is much more interesting, and particularly in the context where I'm creating these dilemma games, these like 20-minute kind of constrained things. If there were just people like me in that room, it would be dull. But when you have people who have different world experiences, part of it, but also kind of just different viewpoints, like and having the ability to have people in a room argue safely, I find really interesting. I think, confrontation is an important part of making stories work. But we are so faced with black and white arguments, often where there's been too little information, particularly in the current news cycle, should we say. Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to talk about JK, don't worry. I
think about Trump.
Wow, there's that one as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, but I'm sure everything's going to be fine. We're not about to have a terrible time of recording. We were still trying to work out what was happening in Iran. Yay. Okay. So, and again, because I've managed to travel around the world, I've got friends who I've got friends in Israel who are going into bunkers. I've got friends in the Middle East. I've got a Palestinian game developer who's a friend of mine, and I'm not trying to do that. I've got a friend who is blah. I don't mean that. I mean, there are people I personally know who are facing the different ends of those problems, and they're all having a shitty time. And that to me means that we're not talking enough.
And to some extent, we definitely have a duty as people who are comparatively comfortable.
Yes.
Who are not currently subject of bombing in the middle of a famine,
100%.
regularly raided by pirates, or living on an island that's gradually being covered by water due to climate change.
Yeah.
Or a coastline that's gradually, or no longer support ourselves. We have a duty, I think, to uplift those voices.
Absolutely, no question about it. And the more we do that, the better. But even if there's so many areas I could dive into on this one because of obviously everything that's going on all over the genre. But I think to me it's about, like you say, it's being able to give voice to places where we can. Now, for me, my struggle, and again, I have a personal interest, particularly in the LGBT kind of trans issue side of things. Not my story, but it's something that's very deeply personal to me. I want to be representative of that, but I'm also very aware that it's not my story. I feel constrained in how much scope I can bring to that. So I want to bring other people into a space where they can be themselves. I don't necessarily mean they have to have a conversation about that subject. We've got enough people having conversations. If they want to, fantastic. If they don't want to, fantastic. But normalization of people's reality, I think, is really important. Whether you're from Palestine, whether you're from, dealing with the current toilet situation nonsense that we're dealing with, people not seeing that that we have this diverse nature of humanity. Anyway, I'm being very deeply philosophical.
To be honest, and that is one of the wonderful things I've seen about the audio drama community, which is because the bar to access is so low. Because no one's saying that won't sell in the Chinese market, it's too gay. Because, there's nobody telling us that. The only barrier to us, and that's still a barrier. Free time is still a barrier. Access to a computer is still a barrier. There are still any number of working class people whose voices we are not hearing in audio drama. Because they do not have access to that time.
Or haven't had the training, the education, they can it's all physical access, but it's also expectation. Do you see yourself? Well, yeah.
But one of the
I'm with Bernie.
Because that there is no one telling you what you just made is too gay to be published.
Yeah,
we can just put it on the internet, and no one can stop us. And that means there is the world of audio drama is far more LGBT than you would expect. I think it could probably do with being more diverse in terms of black, brown, and non-white voices. But I try to uplift those podcasts as far as I can and point people to them and that kind of thing. And of course, cast those people as well. Especially if there's funding involved. Like the more people of color I can get in my show, the better.
Yeah. I completely understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
But particularly for like the trans and LGBT side of things, we like, where possible, I like to write my characters that I'm casting gender blind.
Yeah.
Eeler's choice was almost. There were a few characters who I knew I wanted a particular person for them. Mm-hmm. So with those ones, I said, I had that in mind. All the main characters, everything like that. I used they them pronouns all the way through, and then we just put that out. And then we said we will go with whatever pronoun, and we will gender this character according to what the actor we cast for it is comfortable with. As a result, our main characters ended up being 2 non-binary people and 2 women.
Great.
Not a single no, and so far, no one in the audio drama community has complained to us about the fact that the only men are side characters.
Yeah. But because that we just sounds good.
Yeah, and it's great. And I've seen various people going like, "Why? There's so many women in this. There's so many, and." We also, when the time came, we're not doing this in season 2 because I've got particular people that we've asked to do it.
Yeah.
But when the time came to gender those characters, we asked the actors what gender they'd like to play.
Yeah.
And those people chose their own. Except for William Wellman, who makes Hello from the Handlewoods, which is a wonderful podcast, and they play within every character within almost every character within Hello for the Handlewoods, who have a wild number of genders, some of whose gender is moth/moth. So they're used to just flipping all over genders. So they went, I think this gender sounds like a he. Yeah, and just decided, and we're like, right, okay, this character is a he then. But the majority of those characters, we ended up with the pronouns of the person who was playing them. And as a result, we have a whole set of characters that I would never have, and also. Over time, I've given them characteristics of if the person has like a cultural background. Like, for example, there's one character who was called Anguill, Anguill, which is just a Latin name for the European eel. And it's entirely possible to pronounce that either in the Spanish way or in the French way. But we cast Risa Montañez for it. Yeah. So now it gets pronounced in the Spanish way.
Of course.
Great. So when often when we've had to get somebody in to replace somebody and get a new character or something like that, I've given that character. I've taken the person we've cast. If they're from a Hispanic background, I've given them a Spanish name, but I've followed the naming conventions I use for the world.
If you're enjoying this interview, why not check out this brief trailer from our guest?
Line secured. Cheers, boater. Line secured.
Look at the size of that beast.
Aye, it's a good haul.
Oh, we'll celebrate with gleaming eel when we get back.
Shelfing day's coming up. It'll be good and busy.
I'll see you there then.
Aye, you still owe me from last time.
No, I paid last Ron's day. Remember
Another one?
There must be. Wait. What in Yoon's name is that?
Eeler's Choice is a dark maritime fantasy audio drama, coming this autumn, created by SUTCLIFFE and Daisy McNamara. The unlucky sailors were Tal Muneer, Meg Malloy Tootin, and Pacific S. Obadiah. Editing was by Daisy McNamara, and music and sound design by SUTCLIFFE, using sounds from freesound.org. Follow us on social media at Eeler's Choice, if you choose. But be warned, the ocean never gives back what it takes unchanged. So the only hard and fast rule for the casting was that the accent the person was either comfortably using or needs to be from a coastal area. Yeah. It doesn't matter where the coastal area. Like, we've got someone from like the Brabant in someone from the Netherlands, someone from Norway. Yeah. We've got people from Liverpool, people from people from
Not
South
people
Wales,
from Liverpool. Oh, that's the final objection.
Leon. Shout out to Leon, who is now a published author as well,
Fantastic.
Who makes Tell No Tales. And is my favourite Scouser, and writes like queer books about about lesbian couples where one of them is a Scouser and the other one's from the South, and rich pair from the South, and they have this kind of
Fantastic,
Prince and the Pauper lesbian relationship thing, which is adorable. Love Leon. Leon plays our kind of awkward student.
Cool.
So yeah, and so as long as the accent was at least somewhere vaguely coastal. After that, we would prioritize people of color, and after that, we would prioritize avoiding standard Midwest USA and standard RP, because that's
so I'm stuffed.
Well, basically, no, we wouldn't have cast you because
why would you?
unless you could do, unless you had a coastal accent that you could do.
Exactly.
Because it's a way of decolonizing audio drama. When you're decolonizing audio drama, if you're writing a fantasy world, the most effective way to do that is not to have generic accents.
Yeah.
Is not to have generic
Totally.
American accents, not to have generic English accents. To put a diversity of accents, because you can't see people's
Love it.
faces.
Yeah.
But you can hear their voices.
Yes. Absolutely.
So basically our rule was, when we write in the characters, we say nothing that indicates what race they might be.
Yeah.
So when people want to draw fan art, they draw whatever color they want.
Great.
So no hair color, no eye color, no skin color. We only describe what they're wearing and their body shape, body size, that kind of thing. Deliberately include fat people. Describe them as fat.
Of course.
Deliberately include disabled. Like two of the main characters have disabilities.
Yeah.
One of them is partially sighted, and one of them uses a cane. And the partially sighted one uses a cane as well. So deliberate and explicit disability representation. No gender assigned until we cast. And deliberately include as many people of color as possible. And until basically. So when we've got a fantasy world, we have the freedom to just go, like, decolonize everything. When you're writing within the real world, as you say, that's when you start to have these. How comfortable are you about telling a story? Really, the way to, as you say, to do that is to include the people who those stories are, as you are doing. But if you can't, or if there are, I regularly see people complaining about how they don't know how to write when they're not comfortable writing people of color.
Yeah.
And they're worried that they're going to run across doing a microaggression by mistake. The internet is full of people of color telling you how to write them.
Exactly.
There are so many. Like, just Google for it. Go and read, like, black media. Watch black media. Read the poetry of Audre Lorde. Like, just go and read things written by read the sci-fi of read black sci-fi, read black poetry, read black
there's
media.
a particular person, again, I'm struggling with names that I suspect you might be mentioning, who's quite famous. Did a whole African kind of based sort of space mission thing series.
Yeah, there's
I forgot what it was.
sci-fi, there's Afrofuturism.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of whoever it was, the lady who wrote Kindred, and my autism brain has got rid of it. There's a beautiful film called Fast Color, which is about generational trauma in black superheroes, which I never seen anyone mention.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. There are any number of explainers on how to describe black people's skin when you're writing it. Like, similarly, when I wanted to start writing a partially sighted person, there were explainers on the internet. Like, we also went and found a partially sighted person to read over the script because I will forget and use the word "see" by mistake. But like, there were any number of blind and partially sighted people going, actually, the majority of us have some kind of sight. It's blurry, but like, we're not completely blind. So I read, right, okay, so that's the average partially sighted person has some sight. This character has some sight. There we go. We don't do the touchy face thing. Stop writing the touchy face thing. And I saw that.
And this is an issue in computer games as well. I mean, I was literally just talking to a research project out of the University of Surrey that are looking into audio description. And I was lucky enough that the representative from the RNIB was there. And I was able to introduce them to some folks at Blind Burners, which is a charity specifically to do those things. But that's only just because I happen to know Chris, who set it up, just because he's in the games industry. And I think it's these little networks that you find if you are willing to pay a bit of attention.
Absolutely. It's useful when you do have the networks. Like, one of my partners has a lot of kind of links into disability networks and that kind of thing.
Great.
And people they can ask about that sort of thing.
I am rubbish at that stuff, but I'm glad to say I'm an ambassador for a thing called Special Effect, which is a charity for helping people who have physical limitations to be able to play games together. I'm very games obsessed.
That's fair.
So let's sort of take a step back. So I think what you've described to me is an incredible array of like the process it takes to frame how you're going to tell a story and the value of creating a set definition of what you're doing in each particular phase. The idea of building these elements from a foundation to a delivery point and then releasing them sounds like that works very well because an audience can find it, complete it, and enjoy it. And the fact that you've been able to go on and do another series, different cadence but same principle, and you're now on the second version of that sounds really powerful. So what question around you is, if you are taking this stance where you're doing the work and then you're releasing it, there are these points of big gap. You don't have that ongoing momentum. What can you do to get the scale of interest in the works that you've made? Or is it just a case of like just keeping the connections with other podcasts and other shows?
Well, the thing is, I don't care.
You don't care?
No, like if some I can probably count on my fingers the number of people who've listened to the Badlands Society. Daisy likes it when number go up. Yeah. I don't care if number go up.
Yeah.
I made the thing and I put it into the world, and it was the act of creation that was important to me.
Get it.
If people like, we have a friend called Cale Brown who made something called Sinkhole, which is a beautiful exploration of sci-fi exploration of what happens when technology leaves disabled people behind. It's a world where everybody has been able to mentally link into a sort of direct brain internet, except people who've been exposed to the sinkhole, who are immune to it and have now been left behind by technology. And Cale literally wrote it for them and stuck it on the internet with no publicity, nothing. And it was wildly popular for a while. I would rather the people who want to listen to it, love it, tell their friends about it word of mouth, and rather than like, I don't want to do a big marketing push. I don't want to shill it. I don't want, like, this is my fun. It's not my second job. If I have to do market, like even the marketing we had to do for the crowdfunder, and that, like, even that, I at least had to make fun by making fun videos, because otherwise I would have hated it. Yeah. And we got like maybe 58% of what we wanted to get, so we can pay people something. Probably if I'd done, but I just kind of left that all to Daisy, because I don't like that. I don't like watching the numbers. I don't like having to be validated by how much someone's listening to something. If they listen to it's like, if someone publishes fan fiction on Archive of Our Own, like, it's, niche fan fiction, and they're writing for like the one person who leaves them comments, and they might write 42,000 words for the one person. Like, I was beta reading a fan fiction for somebody which was a crossover between the Amelia Project and Our Flagman Zeph. And that person has never found anyone who'd listened or watched both of those things who could beta read it for them. Like, wow. I may be the one, I'm sure there's more than just me.
You are the one person in the world, yeah.
I'm sure there's just one more than just me, but finding the other me is... So, like, there are people out there who've written millions of words that only 2 people have ever read. And that's fine.
That's fine. Exactly.
If this was my job, I'd be worried about marketing. It's not. It's my hobby. I'm going to make a beautiful thing, and I'm going to give it to other people to listen to, and I hope they enjoy it. But even if they don't, or they don't listen to it, I still made a beautiful thing.
I thoroughly... I mean, I happen to have trained as a marketing person. I happen to have worked as a game publisher. But I'm not making my stuff because of that. I'm making this because I want to talk to cool people who are doing cool things.
Oh, yeah, and there's also the collaborating with cool people on cool things.
It's collaborating with cool people is absolutely...
I've made so many friends.
Yeah, but just meeting people who are trying... And I call it a podquest specifically because I don't know this stuff. I don't think a lot of people know the nuances of storytelling, things like the perspective that you're describing in terms of you making a choice to allow the actors to take very direct expressive
that you get so much
point,
when you ask the actor to put their own input into things.
Yeah.
Because good actors will just do it anyway.
Yes.
But when you explicitly, because I had a lot of new actors, or people who weren't very experienced, and I had some people who were very experienced, like David Holt, who's been at it since like 2006. And I had people who've been in the Magnus archives and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I honestly, you get so much more when you let them put things into it. I'd rather the actors were given lots and lots of ability. I mean, not to, if they go too far off script, I'm going to tell them off, Mike. But
this is why I've chosen the laziest way of doing things possible, because I create a script. There's no point or any need to assign anything. I mean, there are some science fiction reasons why I want to assign you to a species in the world sometimes. And that's because I'm using them as a metaphor for the story mostly. Like, I have a species that can't lie. Why can't they lie? They can't lie because their language doesn't have nouns. Well, not quite the same as we do. So I've got a kind of mechanic, however farcical, which imagine that, right?
Nouns.
Imagine no nouns. I mean, it's incredibly hard to play, and we give plenty of leeway. But the idea is that, you know, imagine a society entirely in verbs.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I did that is because if you think about everything entirely in verbs, if you lie, it's no longer the thing. Therefore, you can't say it as the thing because it's no longer the thing. Do you see what I mean? That was the logic. I mean, it's farcical logic. But that's the sort of mindset I have. Is like, pronouns are allowed. Yeah.
So you just have to use pronouns for everything. It, that's, you know.
Yeah. The thing that took the pathway over there. that kind of language. Yeah.
And you're also allowed to lie.
Honestly, I've never managed to quite pull it off
it's like
either.
Playing a kenku.
Oh, we'll do more of it, and we've played it, and we always say that this character has been around the Federation for a long time and therefore can talk normally. But I'm trying to get them to think about putting these moments where they revert to their normal language. Anyway, point being is, I have these frames which are basically briefs, and the briefs basically give you a dilemma, a secret, and a problem, and they decide their name, their gender, their kind of identity other than that. And that is fine.
It's like being given an NPC brief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an NPC brief. And the not so secret thing is that they might die. In fact, it's pretty likely that one of them will die by the end of the thing, because that's the whole point of a dilemma. There's got to be real consequence. Anyway, so I love the fact you're doing similar but different applications of that mindset, where you're empowering the actor to take more of the direction of that function, but without giving up, importantly, not without giving up the script direction. Again, this feels to me like we're seeing another piece of that puzzle of how we've got so many different tools in the spectrum of storytelling. Whether you're playing actual plays with dice and consequence, whether you're doing improv like I'm doing, where there's no script, but there are specific frameworks happening, or you're doing devised pieces where you're actually heading towards a direction, or fully scripted. Each of these have different techniques, and there are different storytelling in every end of that spectrum that can learn from almost every other. So, in that mind, we've had a fantastic conversation, but to sum it all up, if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody wanting to start this today, what would that be?
Start small. Don't, like as I said earlier, don't try to do a 200 episode thing. Give yourself a pilot series. Give yourself try something out first. Yeah, like that. The easiest way to not get kind of disheartened is to just go, here's a defined thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to try it out. The last time, you remember now, because there was a Q&A we were doing. The last time I was doing a Q&A, I was with my friend Amber Devereaux, who's this amazing composer. And we got to the point where I was like, I probably should have bought a keyboard several years ago. And Amber went, "You've not been using a keyboard this whole time?" Like, they were shocked that I've been composing without like a MIDI keyboard. It's like, what? Buy a keyboard.
Yeah. Hey, I'm completely non-musical. But
So
I
when
would have
everyone-
assumed.
So when everyone's like, "What's your one piece of advice?" I'm like, maybe get a keyboard. You're gonna make a pose and get a MIDI keyboard. But yeah, no, I would definitely say start small. Start small.
Yeah.
Friends are OP. Like,
And I mean, for me, there's something that's really magical about the one-room drama. It just makes it easier to keep things in one space, more constrained. There are plenty of formulas you can tap on if you're not experienced, but you can also explore that in so many different options. And I'm not a writer per se. I'm somebody who just throws together scenarios. But I love the fact that I'm getting to talk to all these different writers and all the different techniques that they're applying, whatever stage that we're talking about. Lou, that's been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out with me. If people want to find out more about what you're doing and how to find out more about you, what's the best way to do it?
oh, I have a card now. LouSutcliffe.cards.co, CARRD, which has all sorts of different links. I've finally got a sensible link hub. If you just look for Eeler's Choice, you can just search that on search engines because I know how to do search engine optimization.
Yay!
Similarly, the Pantaloon Society. Again, you will struggle to find anything when you Google for it that isn't the Pantaloon Society.
I
but
chose
Eeler's Choice
Anything
mainly.
Could Happen show. That was not the most sensible
No.
given Ellie Goulding song.
Oh
Yeah.
no! When you title your show, Google what you're titling and see if it comes up with anything else, just as a start off thing.
Yeah.
And don't end it with the word "the podcast." We are there. Hopefully, Eeler's Choice season 2 will be coming out when we make it. We are in the middle of working on a TTRPG for Eeler's Choice. We don't know when that'll be out. That'll be out when we are working with the Gabriel and the lovely people from the Gauntlet
cool.
on that, who make Brindlewood Bay and other excellent storytelling games. So sooner or later there'll be something of that, like at least a basic version of that out. But at the moment we
Fantastic.
need to do season 2 before we get back to the TTRPG. I regularly once a month I stream with on the Tin Can Audio, or I am part of the streams on the Tin Can Audio channel where we do audio drama done quick, which is where we try and make a 5-minute audio drama as fast as possible. I think we have it down to like an hour and a half or something like that now, but that's mainly because Amber Devereaux is incredibly fast with the DAW. Is there anything else other than that?
Well, I'm sure we can stick a whole bunch of stuff in the show notes and all that kind of stuff.
The card has links to everything. Yeah.
Yes, brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lou. That's been fantastic. So there you have it. We've been talking to Lou about the development of the Pantaloon Society and Eeler's and how their approach to storytelling has effectively kind of allowed them to constrain the risk and the process and yet still maximize the delivery. But I love the fact that the reason you're doing it, the reason why almost everybody we talk to is doing it is because it's the creation process itself that drives us. And I still feel there's an incredible kind of creative space that's happening in audio right now. It feels very much like the old days of mobile Java games, but I'm old, so I remember those things.
I imagine.
But I don't necessarily think it's going to scale like that, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the scale. It's about us being able to entertain those people around us who love the format. And on that note, thank you very much for being part of it. And we'll be back next time. Please like, subscribe, share, and all the other stuff. And we'll be back again talking to more amazing, enchanting storytellers as we go on, continue our podquest about audio drama and actual plays. Thank you very much.